session, the next session is going to be another fireside chat with two very interesting people. I would like to call upon Manoj Kumar. Manoj, if we can have you on the stage, please. Manoj is the founding CEO of Nandi Foundation, arguably the largest multi-sector non-profit in India, focused on poverty reduction through initiatives for empowering girls, women, and farmers. Nandi, in 25 years, has impacted over 8 million lives. Manoj spearheaded the transformation of over 2,000 villages in tribal Araku Valley in the Eastern Ghats, combating poverty, Naxal insurgency, and ecological fragility. In fact, you would have seen the cafe outside, that's by Araku. This two-decade effort resulted in the creation of Araku Coffee, a globally acclaimed brand that liberated 300,000 tribals living out of poverty and put India on the world map of specialty coffee. So we're very excited to learn more about the journey of the brand. Thank you so much for your time, Manoj. And interviewing Manoj today in a conversation is Ridhi Khosla Jalan. Hi, Ridhi. Ridhi is an interior designer and India's premier and premium design influencer. Ridhi has carved a unique niche for herself on social media by sharing the latest trends, newest finds in the world of architecture, interior design, and home decor. She's been collaborating with some of the most sought-after Indian and international brands. Her captivating interview series featuring Padma Shri awardees Sunita Kohli, Sarita Handa, Ayushmann Khurrana, Mrs. Meenakshi Lekhi, who's the Minister of State for Culture in India, has taken the internet by storm. Thank you so much, Ridhi. And thank you so much, Manoj. Please take it away. Yeah.
Thank you, Sneha, for that wonderful introduction. And thank you for giving background on Nandi Foundation and Araku Coffee. So I'm going to jump right in, Manoj, and I'm going to ask you, what motivated you to start Araku Coffee? Let's go to the beginning.
Yeah. Before I get to Araku's story, I can't help truly congratulating my dear friend Nairika and the entire team behind organizing this extraordinarily wonderful event. Because, you know, it's time Maximum City did at least some minimum work to create conscious consumers. Mumbai can become not just cultural capital, but the conscience capital of India. It's time to shake its financial capital tagline and become the conscience capital of India. So, thank you, everyone. This is so beautiful. I hope this is an annual event and this just grows bigger and bigger. I couldn't resist telling it, and this is truly from the heart. Thank you.
So well said. Absolutely.
Going forward, Araku. So, Araku is something that I went to because I was young and stupid. That's the truth. And when you are young and stupid, you do risky things and you are more crazy than you are when you are older. So 25 years ago, that place was full of landmines and fully infested with Naxals. And this beautiful place, entire mountain range was falling off India's map because there was so much poverty. And people had told that if there was one thing you wanted to attempt and fail and be forgiven, then try to change Araku. That's how we went. And indeed, it was a beautiful place, full of fascinatingly wonderful, loving human beings, indigenous people, tribals, but living in extreme poverty along with guns, landmines, and Naxals. And having a legacy that in 1900, British used to grow coffee there. So that's just to try out, we went. We didn't know we will make coffee. We wanted to just understand how it is to live in such a place. That's how it happened. And then I fell in love with the people. I fell in love with the excitement of trying to understand their lives. One led to another. And then we all said, how about growing coffee? Because that seemed to be a thing that they never grew. So that's how it started 15 years ago, the coffee story.
And this is almost, I would call it a coffee experiment, where we've all heard of farm to fork. This is now seed to cup, where you decided to eradicate the middleman to ensure that the farmers would get the profit. How has that been? I'm sure there are a lot of challenges that come with, removing the middleman, where you're doing your own quality control, you're teaching the farmers how you want the process to be followed. So can you explain, I'm the student, you're the professor, this is an economics class. Can you explain Arakunomics?
Okay. Um, the simplest way in 2 minutes to explain is that, first of all, it's impossible anywhere to eliminate middlemen. And I think they are always there to stay. I would say, well, I would have been happier eliminating men itself, but it's middlemen, so we will live with that. Um, the, the challenge there was how much exploitative the middlemen were. So we never actually eliminated them. Eliminate itself is such a negative word in today's world, so I'm not getting there. But the challenge was really whatever these tribals grew. We are talking about roughly 500,000 lives. So approximately 100,000 farmers or farmer families. Whatever they grew, they had to sell right there. And the people who would come and buy would just buy at any price. Very often, till the late 80s, that region was in barter economy. So before our Honorable Prime Minister started cashless economy, that region was cashless because it was barter. So from there, asking the tribals to trust me and our team and buy was itself difficult. I remember my first conversation with a group of tribals when they asked me, "Are you from India?" And I said, "Yeah," because that was the kind of understanding they had about India being some place where people come from. Every middleman they knew was coming from India and exploitative. So to start from that base, it was all about building trust. And the only way you could build trust was to give unconditional trust. So our capitalism and economics was built on unconditional trust. So tell them that if you give the best produce in the world, you will get the best price in the world, period. And which for us was to tell, if the coffee price in India, in Kushal Nagar near Coorg, was 60 rupees a kilo or 90 rupees a kilo, we said we'll offer 300 a kilo. That's 5x, provided the coffee quality was that high. So Arakunomics was basically a treatise where we said, please produce the best in the world. We will then give you the best price. And then we told them, don't become a farmer who just produces a crop as a commodity, but let's together go up the value chain, process it and sell it as green beans, then we can get higher price. So that inclusion of a farmer to be part of your value chain was the big change that we had to do. Nowhere are farmers getting part of the value chain as you add value. Today, even this retail Araku coffee that we sell is part proceeds going to the farmer because we pay forward even before we sell it retail. So it was relooking economics where only the last person with capital or retail space makes all the money, but not the producer. That's basically our economics. We added a twist to it, which is to say that by this token, every consumer should also get the best produce. So our economics in simple terms, therefore, for our children between 10 and 16, is to say it's about PQR. Ensure there is profit for farmer. Okay. Ensure that the produce is the best for the consumer. And R is ensure that while making this and taking it to the consumer, you didn't damage the planet, but you made the planet regenerate itself. So it is what I call, if you can think every time you have food, you see how the food scored on PQR. Did that food ensure that the farmer made profit? Did the food ensure that it doesn't damage or harm you? And can you ensure it didn't damage the planet? To me, that's really food labeling. Maybe it will take 100 years. You never know with these millennials, it may take only 1 year. Somebody will come with this magical app which can do a QR code equivalent on every food, and it will give you a PQR score, And I can think of everyone, including my host Godrej, trying to run and create high PQR scores, because that's what conscious consumers that Nirika created will tomorrow ask. Today they ask, is it organic? Today they ask, is it sustainable, whatever that means. And then they ask, has it traveled far, etc. But soon they will ask. Incidentally, in France, there is an app which children go to stores and try. And if you don't get the score high on that app, it means it didn't do well on PQR. So I'm happy to say kids in France tried Araku, we scored 100 on 100.
Oh, well
So
done.
it's possible. I hope Araconomics then becomes a way of life.
So we definitely need that app in India. And you mentioned a word, regenerative, which is regenerative farming. And since we are at the Conscious Collective, it's important to talk about that, because life below the soil determines life above the soil. So could you talk about how you have managed that in a valley which does not have any history related to regenerative farming?
Yep. In fact, very soon everyone will say they are into regenerative food because it's catching up worldwide. While I would say that it's this place where we discuss design and we discuss culture, that's the perfect place to discuss regenerative farming, because regenerative farming is about redesigning how a farm should be. And we talk about designing the packaging of Araku coffee, designing how the store should be or how a product should be, but we really go back to designing a farm. And when we design a farm in such a way that it's not an ICU unit, which is what polyhouses are, which is what regular farms are, or if you go to Punjab, which is only monocrop of just wheat and paddy, or you go to US, it's about maize and corns. Those are the most pathetic, destructive designs you can think of for farms. We need farms to be as colorful as our lives should be, which means you have multiple crops in the same year. You have crop rotation. You have multiple crops that a farmer grows, not just one based on the government minimum support price. So if you can help them design just that, which is having a filter of science, and the filter of science is looking at what kinds of microbes and what kind of microbial biomes you want the soil to enable its growth and nutrient intake. For instance, if every farm should have at one season one form of legume or the other, because they fix nitrogen. I can go on this, but the idea is if you can tell, and tribals were the luckiest, I was lucky to have tribals as my partners for this experiment because they said we completely get it. This is basically mirroring how a forest grows. A forest, there is never a monocrop forest. A forest is full of multiple species. We need to actually imitate that when we create our farms. And if we do that, it will be magical. So in Araku, when you come, we have 15 million coffee trees, but we have 28 million, 19 other species. So to grow 15 million coffee trees, we have totally 43 million trees planted. If that's the way every farm is going to be, then you will have the farms regenerating itself. Currently, what we have done in agriculture is ensured that we put every tree in a ventilator, told that they needn't fix nutrition themselves, we will give it ourselves, and we stop nature's ability to fix nutrition. Regenerative means you allow the microbes to regenerate and fix their nutrition. This is what will in turn help us when we consume that food. So making the tribals agree was easy because they could understand it. Now we are replicating it in UP, Punjab and Maharashtra. And boy, it's so difficult. So the only way I can change their behavior is by vitamin M. We pay very high price if they do regenerative. You know, only money talks. So we do behavioral economics, nudge them to do things the way we want, but offer 3x price. So I'm happy to say each one of you here has to become a supporter of regenerative farming, And the only way we could talk to you doing that is not to take you to Araku, but to open the first regenerative restaurant, regenerative food restaurant in South Bombay, which is what we are doing. So come December 13, you can come to South Bombay, eat regenerative food based on regenerative agriculture. Only those kind of food we serve there. And as they say, taste the difference.
But you know, I have a bone to pick with you because before I found out about this South Mumbai store, there are 2 other Araku stores. So one in Bangalore, and where would you think the other store is? You would assume it's in India, but it's in Paris. So there's one store in Paris, there's one in Bangalore, and now you're launching a restaurant day after tomorrow, on Wednesday. Why Paris?
Yeah, I think Parisians like to think that the gastronomy capital of the world is in Paris. And it looks like they seem to determine a lot of things which are trend-setting. That's why I said Mumbai should set the trend on conscience-based consumerism. But indeed, other than fashion and design, I would say Paris is a trendsetter for food as well. And that was one reason we felt we should pick it. And I'm sorry to say, but we Indians seem to like something that succeeded in the West to be copied here, and then it catches better. This is the trend we found. That was one. The second is, the truth is that our work in Araku was supported a lot by many French companies, starting with luxury brands like Hermes, Chanel, also Danone, Schneider Electric. So there were a lot of French companies which supported us financially to plant these trees. And they said, as a return gratitude, would you start the first store in Paris?
So
that's the story.
How it started. I also want to ask you, since this is a design event, all the cups, saucers, all the accessories have been designed by Anderson & Wall, which is a Norwegian company. Why not an Indian company? Why are we looking abroad? I feel there's so many designers here who could also do it. So I am roasting you with full pun intended, and you can spill the beans on it.
Yeah, so I shall spill the beans. I hope it's a mild roast because that's how Araku coffee has to be consumed. You don't do dark roast with our beans because they're so good in its quality that a mild roast will do. So we will take it at that level. No, but the honest answer again is that we were thinking of product design of coffee accessories as early as 2015. So that's a good 8 years ago. We did scout in India. Product design wasn't at its peak. I still don't know if it's now. We're still looking for product designers from India. So it's an invitation, if this helps to spread the word, to develop world-class products as coffee accessories or food accessories. We struggle to explain how a mocha pot should be. So there is, for instance, not just the design aesthetics, but there is a whole lot of engineering to product design. And we don't even have product design engineering schools of that caliber that we need. So it's not just Atmanirbhar Bharat happening overnight because we can do product design, frankly. We try to do as much design now, but at that time, we had an obsession that we set to the tribals, which is anything we do in brand Araku has to be world best. So we did go on a worldwide hunt for the best product designers. And by far, Anderson & Wall were like streets ahead in terms of kitchen-related or utility-related products. Look them up, they are just insane. And when it took us, so they are such cult gurus, they'd only look at emails twice a year, if that helps to tell you how meditative they are.
Very difficult to get a hold of.
So I had to wait 2.5 years to get them to talk to me. And they came and spent a month in India to understand India. So our products are completely inspired by India. The espresso cup is based on Tanjore temple, for instance, and so on and so forth. But the challenge was to get designers who had engineering on one hand, aesthetics on the other, understanding of coffee third, but also bring in philosophy and culture as part of their work track record. So this was difficult to find. I truly want to develop the next set of Araku accessories fully designed by Indians. Help me find them.
Maybe we can open it up to the audience, and there's time for that.
Thank you.
I do have one more question, more on a personal level. I feel you're a man who thrives on challenges. So what would be the next mountain or valley to climb? What is the next challenge?
Yeah, you're partly correct, but the stupidity is so much still there that it's not one challenge. Very often, try many challenges so that you know only of the one I managed to succeed. The rest of the ones I failed, you won't even know. So it's always good to try multiple challenges. That's the trick. I would say currently what's bothering is really to see how we transition from a coffee brand to a food brand, because we want, I know so many people, including the lady next to me who doesn't drink coffee. So how can I make her a regenerative food ambassador if she doesn't drink my product? But if I have food across India available, farmers, 1 million of them who produce regenerative food, then each and every one of us will have, like Intel Inside once upon a time, we will have regenerative regen food. I hope to create the next generation should be not Z generation or whatever else is the alphabet. I want them to be regen. Everyone to be consuming regenerative food. So I hope to create Region X, if you please. That's the challenge, which is telling our children and telling everyone in the audience to take a little more time on figuring out what food to eat, and we will supply India with the food.
So you're the man behind the food revolution that's about to happen.
I'm one of them. I'm the Pied Piper leading 1 million farmers is a better way to say.
And we need many more like you.
Totally.
Can we open this up to questions? Any questions for, okay. Do we pass the mic, Sneha?
No, it's okay. The mic is coming to you, yes. If you can stand up and introduce yourself and ask a question. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for this. I've had some experience working with farmers, and I was also with TechnoServe, which is a global nonprofit that works with farmers at scale. I'm also serve with a trust in a tribal area in South Gujarat, Dharampur, Kaprada. So of course we've started small, but I have lots of questions for you. I'll just stick to a few. I just want to understand what's the time frame in terms of winning trust, and what's the ownership structure? So are we talking FPOs? How is, really the profit sharing? How does that happen with farmers? And the second point, maybe for all the designers in the room, I'm more a development and an education person. There's a lot of talent with indigenous communities when it comes to natural design, aesthetic. I work in a school and a college in a tribal region. I'd love to, get inputs or talk to anybody who's interested in really honing that talent and developing it. Because I feel like naturally, if you see their handwriting, if you see a lot of the aesthetic they already have, how do we look at them as, beyond just the producers of, coffee or any other commodity, and how do we really holistically help the community develop and share their vast indigenous knowledge, right? Because we don't seem to value any of that, right? When it comes globally, we will, but we're not able to, I think as a country, really put them on the stand as far as valuing indigenous knowledge systems is concerned. So any thoughts on that too? Thank you.
Narika, we can have just a session on these kind of questions next year because these are so many questions. I'll try to give a one-sentence answer and never satisfy you, but maybe we can have the conversation going in some other form. I think trust can be developed. You cannot define it from a time frame point of view, and there is no end journey to it. You have trust from others as long as you give unconditional trust. So if I keep giving unconditional trust, I believe it starts reciprocating it. Reciprocation happens quickly. Agreed that the more and more the society we deal with, if they were exposed to a trust deficit, then it takes more time for them to heal and trust you. But if they were used to a trusting situation, they will trust you more. Look at children. They trust everyone blindly. But as we get exposed to mistrust as we grow, we become less and less trustful. So that's true with societies too. So the answer to the question is, spend more time, get proximate, and different societies respond differently. I'm finding it easier to win that trust in Shravasti in Uttar Pradesh, where we are working, which is bordering Nepal, where children are sold for 5,000 rupees, girls when I say children. And everyone gets water by digging 10 feet below, because the Ganga river goes right up to there in terms of fertility. But they are very easy to trust despite everything. Also, they are tribals. I'm struggling to get trust for now 7th year in Varda in Vidarbha, because they are so much exposed to mistrust. So it's a question of where they come from and how much we can be vulnerable. On the other comment on design and natural design, I'll only say that we have learned over the years, especially trying to influence people with design, that there are two places where we need to get really closer. One is nature itself. There's so much you can get inspired. It's the largest university in the world for design, according to me, whether it's colors or the combination. I mean, no AI can beat nature. I can vouch this.
Yeah.
And we are never proximate to nature. So that's the thing. So we, in fact, are trying to create open universities by converting our farms into colleges as we grow across the world. Second is the people who are with nature, to get close to them. I can only tell you this, that in a couple of months, the best designers from Hermes brand, who make the Birkin bag, if you please, and a group of 20 of them are going to spend 10 days with the tribals of Araku to get inspired on design by knowing them closely and their nature closely. So if they could figure out that design comes from watching nature and this, it's time rest of India did it, because we have it with us.
Very well said.
We can take one more question. Yes? Yes? Yeah. If you can have the mic passed on there, please. Yeah. A mic's coming to you. Yeah. Ma'am, if you can introduce yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Urmila. I'm a landscape architect, currently heading the National Association of Landscape Architects as well. So actually, I've read a lot about Araku, and to me, it's about bringing back the landscapes of our country, honestly. And in fact, the initiative which you just announced, the restaurant in South Mumbai, because I happen to be a resident of Mumbai as well, I see it as you're taking a leadership position in regenerative agriculture of various crops, probably from the umbrella that you already are into now, and more even further. So I just wanted to understand if that's how you're positioning yourself in a way.
Yes. So what we are trying to do is create larger number of regenerative agriculture farms and farmers from whom we can source. Currently, we may have a lot of stuff coming from Araku itself, which cannot be grown in Mumbai. And then we have our own urban farms in Pune. And then we have identified a smattering of farmers who actually do regenerative agriculture, which by now we would have guessed is more than just organic farming. I am trying to influence a certain Nairika here to also make her farm regenerative, so that that's also another source we get our food from. My team is already in conversation with her and have gone to the farm. There's a whole range of farms which can be quickly upgraded. It's actually easier than upgrading to iPhone 15. But we need to do that. We need to make the mind shift. Tell them it's more than an additional camera power. It's completely transforming the way you produce food. So the idea is get more people to know when they eat at Araku about what is regenerative food, because it is so tasty, and then get everyone, even if they grow a basil plant and a cherry tomato in their balcony in Mumbai, do it regeneratively. And we would do everything to make it work for them. That's the goal.
Thank you.